didn't it? Hey guys, how we doing? So, I've been wanting to build one of these for a long time. Today's project, we're going to build a tack puller, a fence tack puller. And normally you can do it out of any kind of stock material. I've got cold roll, and normally you build them out of rebar, gives you a little more grip on the handle. But we're going to build this one out of cold roll, half-inch cold roll. You build them out of whatever you need. So we're going to heat it up right here. We're going to bend this around, undo it, and just make a U out of it. We're going to put a little tack on both sides of it to hold it. And that's going to be the handle. And then this piece comes around, so out this way, we're going to come up about somewhere along in here, we're going to bend it again. We're going to bend this way, and then it's going to have a loop bent back the other way. So the back part of that is going to be ground off flat. That's where you'll hit it. We'll take a grinder, sharpen the point of this, and bend it just a little bit. So when you grab hold of it, you can hit it with your hammer, and it just pulls the tacks right out of the fence for you. It's real handy. It's nothing to it. It's real simple. We made these back when I was a kid in high school. They're really handy. So in order, when we get done with all this, and we get it tacked up the way we want it and welded out, we're going to heat it up, heat the end of it up, cherry red. We're going to dip it in this bucket of oil over here. So, hang on, sweetie. Don't keep it in your bucket, okay? So we're going to dip it in this bucket of oil, and it's going to, what they call temper it. It's going to cool it, then it's going to temper it, and then we're going to stick it down in this bucket of sand to completely cool itself off. I don't think she's going to like that, but that's what we're going to do. All right, so let's get started.
Perfect.
So the reason it done that, there's 120 foot, I believe, on my truck, curled up on the truck, and the torch hose that had air in it is why. It's not going to cut, we're just going to warm it up, so it didn't really matter anyway. OCD will do it. So what we've done, can you guys see me? All right. What we've done is just bent this around, we put it in the vise and crimped it, just to close it up here. We put a little tack on each side of it, just to keep it from pulling back apart. So this is going to be our handle. So you'll actually hold it here. We're going to weld this up, we're going to weld this up, to give it more of a round feel. So now, we're going to come back up here, probably somewhere in this neighborhood, and we're going to bend it out, and then we're going to bend it back. And the back part, when it bends, it'll bend out, then it'll turn and bend right back over itself. And we'll weld that part up too, and this side's gonna stick out about that far. And that's the part we're gonna grind a point on. So when you hold it, it'll be bent back this side. We'll grind the top of that flat. That'll be the part that you hit with a hammer when you pry up on your fence tacks. Okay? Alright. So what I've done is just set it back up in the vise. So I've made my U-bend in it, and I've kind of leveled it up, just eyeball it best I can here. So we're going to heat it up right here. We're going to bend this down to where it's in a 90 degree with it. And the reason you want this pretty much level is because when you bend this around, your piece sticking out, when we bend it back the other way, it's going to be flat level with this. And that just makes it, and you can adjust it when we get it hot. We'll give it some final tweaks. But that's why you want to do that. So now we're going to heat it up here and bend this back around to 90 degrees. Let it cool a few minutes. We'll bend it back the other way and then we'll cut it off. Be careful not to hit your oxygen when it's that hot, you'll cut it off. Here we go. I'm just going to bend this around. Where it's in pretty much a 90 degree turn. Give it a good eyeball there. Pretty good. Okay. So we just made our bend back here this way. So now we're going to heat it up here. We'll let that cool. So we're going to heat it up here. We're going to bend our rod back over this way, and it's going to extend out there. And then we're going to cut it off about along in here, about the same distance from here to here. So this end here is going to get sharpened down to a point. This end here, where it bends back over it, is going to get ground off flat. we made our bend in it, and we put it back in our vise, and put it back in our vise and just tightened this gap right here up. That's all it did. We put a lot of tension on it to close that gap up, just like we did back here. So we're gonna let it cool just for a minute, and is going to get cut off somewhere about right along in here. Give or take some. We'll cut it off there. We'll grind a point on this. Grind the back of that real flat. So when you get hold, we'll weld everything up. We'll clean it up. So when you get a hold of it, you're hitting this back part, and that's the part we're going to dip in our bucket of oil in a few minutes. So the tempered part of it is just going to make it real hard. That way it don't, just like a hammerhead. It's just tempered. It's tempered steel, which is very case hardened, they call it. So that's all the sand and a bucket of oil is going to be. All right, we'll let that go. All right, guys. So we ain't moved it from the last time you seen it. So now we're going to put a little tack on it here. Just enough to hold it on one side. We're going to cut this off, tack the other side, and then we're going to grind our point on this, and then weld up both sides, and then we'll be ready to grind the back and clean it all up and get ready to temper it. Here we go. Watch out. Okay, so we've got it cut off. We've tacked this side. We're going to come back and start welding these up now. Then we'll grind our point here, flatten the back, heat it up, straighten it up a little bit. Do any final tweaks you need to do to it, and get it cleaned up, and then we're going to start our temper process. So we've got it welded out. We just got done, so it's pretty hot. We're going to brush it, clean it up, grind this down to a point, make any final tweaks or maneuvers we need to make, and heat it up, and then we're going to start our temper. So here we go. warm. We just got done welding, got him cleaned up. We've got our point ground on this end, our flat spot on the back, that's where you're gonna hit it. And it's got a little bit of a bow in it here. I think I'm gonna leave that, because that's gonna get you, if you drive down in it, it's gonna give it a little bit of away from your post when you hit it. So that's how we're gonna leave it. It's not a real sharp point, it's just enough to get started, don't kill your post. And that's it. So now we're gonna heat it back up. We're gonna heat it from probably here all the way out to the head, cherry red. Gonna hold it with a pair of pliers back here. We're gonna dip it in that bucket of oil. It's gonna temper it, and then we're gonna stick it in a bucket of sand and completely cover it in sand until it cools completely off and you can touch it by hand. So that's our next step. All right, so it's been cooling. Let's dig it out, see what we got. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, we're good. All right, so we'll get it out of the bucket, get it cooled off, and get it cleaned up. We'll show you our final product here in just a minute. All right, so we got it cleaned up, and still got some sand on it there, but we got it cleaned up, cooled off. We can put a little coat of primer on it, flatten the back of it so it's tempered, so when you hold it, start it on your fence on your tack, you hammer and hit it, and it just right out. So that's what it's for. Simple, easy, a lot of uses for. As far as material wise, we used roughly 22 inches of material to build this. So it's you can use rebar. If you use rebar, it's got a little more texture on the handle. That makes it so slick. You don't have to go buy anything. If you got something laying around that you're not going to use, works just fine. It don't have to be 1/2 inch. You can use 1/4, 3/8 or 5/8 or whatever you got. So anyway, guys, that's our project for today. Hope this helps somebody. Click like down at the bottom. Simply Southern Roots. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. This is what we made in high school.